Hello everyone, welcome to Let's Play I.O. This is a visual novel which I was initially just going to read by myself, but then after a while I began to realize that I had quite a lot of thoughts about what was happening and what was being said, and that I wanted to share those thoughts somewhere. At first, I thought I'd like to post these thoughts somewhere like GameFAQs, where I have seen similar threads. Then I realized that part of what I wanted to talk about involved images shown in the story, which are not very convenient to post on GameFAQs. So then I thought about posting on some other forum. Maybe I could do a screenshot LP. But then I immediately realized I wasn't satisfied with just showing screenshots. So I decided to do it in video form, and here we are. This visual novel was written and directed by Takumi Nakazawa, who originally worked for Kindle Imagine Develop, or KID, probably most famously on the Infinity series, Never 7, The End of Infinity, Ever 17, The Out of Infinity, and Remember 11, The Age of Infinity, along with its other main writer, Kotaro Uchikoshi, who is famous for his work on the Zero Escape series, 999, and Virtue's Last Reward. After the Infinity series, Nakazawa founded the company Regista, which produced this visual novel among others. I've been really wanting to do this for a while, so let's get started right away.
我わらべの時は語ることもわらべのごとく、思うこともわらべのごとく、論ずることもわらべのごとくなりしが、人となりてはわらべのことを捨てたり、今我らは鏡をもて見るごとく、見るところおぼろなり、されど、かの時には顔を合わせて相見ん。今我が知るところ全からず。されど、かの時には我が知られたるごとく全く知るべし。
Nakazawa seems to put a lot of religious references in his stories. In fact, it's a big theme of this story, as we'll see soon. How long has this been going on? What reason is there to be here? Just where did this consciousness come from? The spiral staircase below seems to descend into infinity. These feet continue to move as if they belong to someone else. No, whose feet are these in the first place? Just where is all this light coming from? Can any of these answers even be known? A dim world, vast yet confined. A spiral path descending into nothingness. No perception of time, suddenly an idea. A wristwatch, a chronograph, a moon's age. Alright, so this is the built-in glossary of this visual novel. It's a lot more advanced than what came in some of the previous ones. You can actually click on a term and go straight to the definition instead of having to go through the menu. So I'm gonna look at all of these. Chronograph. It's easy to mix up a chronograph with a chronometer, but those are two different types of watches. A chronometer just measures time very precisely. A chronograph, on the other hand, is a pocket watch or wristwatch with a stopwatch function. They may also include an integrated tachymeter and split-second timing functions. While chronographs come in both analog and digital varieties, the analog models add yet another hand that measures intervals of 30 minutes. Because there are so many hands, in addition to the ones to denote the month and date, as well as a standard 24-hour time measurement, there may not be enough room to put in a stopwatch function. But in that case, you can't exactly call that watch a chronograph. it can start to feel like you're reading Wikipedia or something, because this can go pretty deep. Chronometer. A timepiece with high precision movement as certified by the official Swiss Chronometer Testing Institute. For a chronometer to be certified, it must be tested for 15 days in 5 positions at 3 different temperatures and maintain a daily variation within -4 and +6 seconds. Timepieces with certified movement are emblazoned with chronometer on their dial, attesting to their high precision. As a side note, out of the nearly 30 million timepieces produced in Switzerland, only 3% are certified as chronometers. Tachymeter. To be accurate, a tachyproductmeter. That's a bit mangled, I think. I looked this up, and it's actually refers to the scale set on a chronograph dial's outer circumference that can measure the average speed per hour of a moving object. The chronograph measures how many seconds it takes to travel 1 kilometer for a maximum of 60 seconds. The value on the tachymeter portion that corresponds to those seconds reveals what its average speed per hour is. Most cars have something called a tachometer installed into them, but this measures the engine's revolutions per minute instead of speed. Split second. A chronograph function that can conduct 2 measurements at the same time. There's 2 second hands, and when the start button is pressed, the 2 hands start moving simultaneously. When the stop button is pressed, one of the hands stops. The other hand continues to move until the stop button is pressed again. And Moon's Age, a heavy-duty multi-purpose wristwatch made by Alpha Company. It accurately tells the time even in extreme environments with intense atmospheric pressures, in the distant skies and at the bottom of the sea's abyss. This item's exquisite craftsmanship is an essential for those who seek these opposing sanctuaries, or hells. The name Moon's Age is apt, as it refers to the watch's display for measuring the moon's age. And that is, refers to the number of days since the last new moon. Due to the variance in length between new moons, the moon's synodic period, it is not necessarily true that a moon's age of 15 means a full moon. It is true, however, that a moon's age of 0 means a new moon. And here's some interesting facts. The kanji for new moon, Saku, means carrying moon, reverse moon, and defying moon. The first one is due to the new moon being used as a reference point of the moon's age. The second is due to the fact that there is no moonlight in a new moon. Normally, a new moon cannot be seen at night, but if it overlaps with a giant celestial body behind it, people can tell that it's there. Said celestial event is a solar eclipse. Its complex watch face displays a certain time. 4:02 a.m. No wonder it's dark. The moon phase hands indicate a moon's age of 14.6. So it's almost a full moon, apparently. There's a full moon tonight, yeah. Taking a quick look above reveals the same sight you'd see from the bottom of a well, a circular fragment of the night sky. The vortex of a staircase continues up to the sky, where a crimson moon lies. Dyed vermilion, as if stained in blood. A total lunar eclipse. Feels like it's always been a lunar eclipse, come to think of it. This body is suddenly assaulted with loneliness and despair. A nostalgic migraine, pain, proof of this body's existence. Despite disorientation and the inability to feel this body, the pain eliminates all doubts that it exists here. Apparently, these feet have chosen to continue descending the staircase. The path stretches infinitely, devoured by darkness of forever. The deep, deep bottom of this pale blue abyss forms the shape of a mortar. And yet, there's no sensation of actually walking. Merely the sound of footsteps going down, down, down. This feeling of descent is more like that of a jellyfish or a dolphin swimming to the depths of the sea. In the end, just how far down does it go? It's like an endless illusion. No, perhaps this really is an illusion. An arabesque pattern is engraved on the wall, reminiscent of a Möbius strip. An alluring sensation, like following bait into a trap of space-time. Oozing terror seizes his body, and the sound of feet stepping firmly onto a wide, flat surface can be heard. Is this the bottom? A brief moment of relief. Nevertheless, pitch black, vision limited to arm's length. Nothing else is visible, not the staircase, nor the wall that had curved alongside it. Just how far does this room go? Slowly, feet fumble forward, arms swing for direction, hands grasp at air. But these hands, these arms, these feet, do they even exist? Or have they faded like a phantasmal phantom? No, at least the moon's age remains. The instrument meant to measure the passage of time, along with the moon that should be shining in the sky. The Earth's lone natural satellite. The satellites of other planets are also called moons. For example, Phobos and Deimos are Mars's moons. They are symbols of change, instability, and everlasting things. Because of the phenomena it has been thought to cause, like werewolves, the Latin word for moon, luna, has been molded to form such words that mean madness, like lunacy and lunatic. In Japan, the moon is seen as something that, aside from those bad meanings, brings good luck. For example, the phrase, "there's a moon," means the goddess of luck is on your side. In ancient times, people used the moon's waxing and waning to tell the passage of time without a lunar calendar. Archaeological expeditions have discovered that 30,000 years ago, deer bones were used to carve out the waxing and waning of the moon. See also moon's age, biotide. Short for biological tide. According to the theory proposed by Dr. Arnold L. Lieber, gravity from celestial bodies may influence human behavior. Because the human body is composed of approximately 80% water, humans should be susceptible to the same forces that cause the tides to come in and go out. The moon's gravity affects the Earth the most during lunar eclipses, making a full moon, and during solar eclipses, making a new moon. Statistics show that incidences of violent crime and women who go into labor increase when the sun, earth, and moon all perfectly align. Incidentally, this is thought to be one of the origins of folk tales where a man transforms into a werewolf by the light of the full moon. On the other hand, when the placement of the sun, earth, and moon form a right angle during a neap tide, and when the combined gravitational attraction of the three bodies is at its lowest, before and after a half moon, feelings of tension appear to subside. This aligns with statistics showing a rise of the number of car accidents caused by careless mistakes. Scientifically speaking, there shouldn't be any differences between the effects of a new and full moon, but due to the strong visual difference between a dark night sky and one brightly illuminated by a shining moon, we perceive them to be different. Even if we can't actually see the moon on a cloudy night, there is a 15-day period between the new and full moons. Because we can see the process by which the moon slowly waxes or wanes, our mind's eye can still tell whether it's waxing or waning, or whether it's full or new. While not all biological organisms are necessarily as affected by biotides, humans often find themselves in situations where they're strongly susceptible to them. This may suggest an evolutionary adaptation. It's generally thought that humans evolved in the savanna, but the aquatic ape hypothesis suggests that humans evolved by the seashore. There are many corroborating theories for this hypothesis, one of which claims that humans were born underwater and that these newborns could swim. See also biological clock. Aquatic ape theory. A human evolutionary theory from 1960 advocated by English marine biologist Alistair Hardy, stating that through the course of evolution, humans adapted to a semi-aquatic lifestyle. The theory went largely unaccepted by scholars, but it served as the basis for Welsh novelist Elaine Morgan's bestseller, which spread knowledge of the theory to the world. The theory is based upon the observation that humans share several characteristics with aquatic mammals. Erect bipedal walking, sparse body hair, thick subcutaneous fat, newborns instinctively swim. These adaptations can logically be explained through the hypothesis that human evolution was linked to a semi-aquatic lifestyle. Biological clock. Many animals have a clock in their brains to measure time. Humans' biological clocks operate on approximately a 25-hour cycle. When strong light arrives at the hypothalamus's suprachiasmatic nucleus from the optic nerves, a signal is sent to the pineal gland, which releases the clock hormone melatonin that induces sleep 14 hours later. This accelerates the biological clock by 1 hour, and thus we adapt to the Earth's solar day being a 24-hour cycle. It's natural to synchronize a solar day to a lunar day, 24.8 hours, in the moon's cycle. Now, if you read those entries along with me, you probably guessed by now there's a lot of pseudoscience and also just plain wrong science in here. So take it all with a grain of salt, as the opening screen states. Those are the only things that surely exist. Right then, these fingertips come into contact with something. Something firm, something smooth, and yet cool to the touch. A slick texture, seems to be glass. The right hand glides smoothly, somehow lighting a small fire. A gradual approach to peer into the glass results in a desire to scream, an inability to vocalize, as if this body lacked vocal cords. Turn around, get out of here now, don't look! But these eyes are wide open and cannot be shut. They keep watching, as if the entire human body had become a gazing eye. The life-sized mirror reflects something. The visage of an unexpected, certain someone. That someone being. And now it's time to select our protagonist. I'm just going to go down the list, top to bottom. So let's start with a boy who has left behind his innocence.
Tama
The darkness is absolute, pitch black in every direction. My restless mind is slow to focus. Finally, my senses begin to sharpen. Even though I can't see anything, it feels like I'm looking over everything. Then a pinprick of light dimly fades into view out of the nothingness in front of me, who has become nothing but a viewpoint. It's soon joined by countless other small sparkling lights. Stars? Once it was said that the stars and galaxies spread throughout the heavens were the gods, or at least their dwelling place. If that's the case, then this might be the viewpoint of such a being. Stories I once read come to mind in rapid succession. Hikoboshi and Orihime, and the Tale of the Bamboo Cutter, The Petit Prince, and The Night on the Galactic Railroad. Why do those stories told under the star's light always harbor such tinges of sadness? Why must such tales conclude in such heart-wrenching tragedy? Just then, the swath of stars begins to pulse and starts to group together like constellations, which means that those weren't stars? They branch out into dendroid colonies before my eyes. Their once nostalgic twinkling starts to resemble more the throbbing pulse of organic life. This is precision equipment. No, maybe the flashes of neurons? No, I realize my misconception in almost no time flat. The true nature of the lights is a metropolis in the dead of night. The skyscraper's neon lights brightly cut through the darkness. Cars fly down the Metropolitan Expressway like high-speed steel fireflies. A perfect diorama of the sleepless megalopolis, worthy of Daedalus himself. If this is reality, then I must be looking down at the city from a high altitude. If so, then what does that mean? The moon is high in the night sky. Normally, its form would be that of a perfect circle. Normally. Before my eyes, that divine circle begins to wane. It's like a giant wheel of cheese, and an even bigger rat just took a bite out of it. A total lunar eclipse. The Earth's one and only satellite is being completely consumed by the planet's shadow. Its usual white luster is lost, and is replaced by a wondrous brown radiance. A crimson moon. At the same time it appears, the city descends into darkness, and I jump towards the riverbed below without a lifeline. It's a plunging feeling so horrible that I'd rather die than experience it again. My mind is blown past the limits of comprehension and straight into the realm of panic. I can no longer hear my screams. No, am I really screaming at all? I can't feel my body, mouth, or ears. The world is wrapped up in the thunderous roar of silence. The shining darkness is thoroughly burned into the depths of my eyes. My whole body, which shouldn't exist, is dismembered by numbness. I am nothingness incarnate, an imaginary number whose existence is forbidden. Stranded between time and space, I just scream out of loneliness, but I know that this voice won't reach anyone. Where am I? Wasn't I just falling? Just what was I trying to do? And just what was going on with the world? My heart palpitates in my chest. I feel nauseous. My whole body is drenched with sweat. The feeling only makes me sicker. The sensation of the sheets. Are they really here? Is the one touching them really me? If that's the case, then I'm alive today as well. Today as well? The fact that I can say that means... It's morning. I'm greeted by the usual familiar scenery that hasn't changed at all. This is my bedroom in my house. That loud ringing isn't an ambulance's siren, but my alarm clock. The time is 10 minutes to 7 a.m. It hurts to breathe. I'm panting like I just ran a 100-meter dash. I might have screamed the moment I woke up. My mind can clearly recall the memory of me having a bad dream, but as for what kind of dream it was specifically, I can't remember a thing. All I know is that it was a dreadful, sad, and hopeless vision. Just how long has it been since the nightmare made me scream like that? When I was a kid, stuff like that would happen all the time. Someone would have a terrifying dream, wake up while crying, and then would immediately run over to me as I stroked their head while comforting them. Just who was that? It doesn't matter who it was, does it? I'm already a high school student, an adult. I should be completely over such an effeminate thing. Well, I don't know if a high school student is really an adult, but okay. I take several deep breaths to try to calm myself down. I feel my memories and sense of reality returning little by little. Even so, I can't help but feel that everything surrounding me seems hollow. It's like the sensation of seeing the world through a sheer veil, or the sensation of viewing the affairs of some foreign nation through a monitor. I'm a step removed from all of that. I open the curtains, and the morning sunlight pierces through the window. It's the gentle spring rays of the late April sunlight. I get out of bed and slowly stretch. At the tip of my outstretched hand is my alarm clock. I stop the ear-grating beeping as if I'm strangling a small animal to death. Finally. Just then, the date of on the clock catches my eye. 32:04:26, Monday. Now, this is in Japanese date order, so it's year, month, day. So, 2032, April 26th. Today is just the start of another day of boring school life.
皆さん、おはようございます。4月26日月曜日、朝7時のニュースです。
When I come down to the living room, I find someone unexpected.
本日未明、午前0時12分から約1分半、都市部のほとんどのコンピューターが沈黙しました。以降も数分から1時間程度、原因不明の異常動作が続きました。
That middle-aged man glances at me while fastening his tie.
ああ、Hinataか。今日は早いな。
父さん。
Although I'm standing stock still, my voice comes out naturally. Yes, my name is Aoi Hinata. Oh, and by the way, that's in Eastern name order, where the surname comes first, just so you know. This man is my father, Aoi Mitsuhiko.
多くのサーバーが停止し、その影響でネットワークが各所で寸断されました。アクセス数が多い時間帯であったため、一時ネット内は大混乱に陥りました。
Server. A computer that provides a service to several user computers called clients connecting to it. In Japanese slang is often referred to as a saba. Mackerel. When a server response goes haywire due to cracking or bugs, the Saba has gone bad. When a server crashes and completely discontinues service, the Saba is downed. Okay, yeah, we know what slang is. Doesn't really add anything. Cracking, an illegal act performed over the net by a cracker. Someone who commits computer crimes, acts of invasion, destruction, data larceny, falsification, etc., for their own amusement and benefit. They spread viruses and worms, or combinations of them, around the net to achieve their own goals, or maybe even just for fun. Worm, a variant of the Old English worm or worm, in the Middle Ages referred to serpents and dragons. With respect to networks, refers to standalone software that spreads from computer to computer, leeching off host computers' resources to self-replicate and propagate through the net. Network. The infrastructure in most urban areas uses hybrid optical fiber connections to deliver high-speed, ultra-high-capacity data transfer, 10 terabits per second. Yeah, that's pretty fast. That's like, well, I've got about 10 megabits per second right now, almost. So that's about 1,000 times faster to almost the whole service area. Public gathering places are almost naturally assumed to be equipped with either WLAN access points or payphone-like booths with optical fiber jacks. Public jacks. Everything is controlled by computers connected through the net. Electricity, water, and phone utilities, residential, public, and city security systems, student and citizen registries, and other control systems of all kinds. Nowadays, the idea of using a computer has become less and less of a conscious concept in the public eye, as use of computers has become more and more natural. It's not necessarily a good thing. Mobile phones are also becoming convenient access terminals. The use of cash has also declined, as most people now use electronic money. Cash. Money, currency, paper bills, or minted metals with an accepted defined value. Recently, because almost all monetary transactions are electronic, physical currency is becoming increasingly scarce. But that doesn't mean there's no demand for it. For instance, cash is frequently used for suspicious deals or products on the black market because the buyer's expenditures and personal information cannot be traced. Bug. Insect. The hole left after a bug eats through something. Refers to a fault in a program, much like the holes left by voracious insects. There is no such thing as a bug-free program, but most bugs are minor and don't impact the user experience. Any bugs that are found after release and prove troubling are normally repaired by releasing patch files. Patch. 1. A material that you apply onto something to fix or reinforce it. 2. To add code to a buggy or improperly operating software in order to temporarily repair it. When software is updated in this way, it is called patching a program. Now, I would like to point out that open source software is often patched not necessarily to fix bugs, but just for updates. For instance, the Linux kernel is a good example. My dad's gaze is completely engulfed by the gaudy news title on screen. Last night's widespread disaster, a new form of cyber-terrorism? Cyber-terrorism, acts of terrorism on the net that are destructive, but not in a physical way. As for typical methods of said acts, they include distributing viruses, deleting and falsifying information, usurping servers' control authority, and more. Terrorism originally meant rule by fear, trying to control others' ideologies, actions, and governments by planting seeds of fear. Ever since the end of World War II, terrorization in war increased in frequency, and terrorism finally reached the point where it became the cause of wars. Virus originally meant venomous substance or poison. In biology, refers to a pathogen that is smaller than bacteria and has no functionality on its own. Its structure only vaguely resembles that of a cell. Viruses are composed only of genetic information wrapped in a protein coat, often covered with an envelope to facilitate attachment to host cells. Upon attachment, the virus hijacks the cell's facilities for the sole purpose of self-replication. On the net refers to malignant software that induces the malfunction of a computer. Many crackers circulate viruses on the net for fun.
問い合わせの殺到によって、携帯の電話回線は一時期パンク状態になりました。短時間の停電、乗用車のオートナビゲートの支障がこれに重なりました。
All the news related to those incidents flows gently out of the talking heads. Nowadays, computers are readily available at all times. Even now, in this society where it's normal for computers to be used in every facet of our daily lives, there are still people who get addicted to the net. Really?
送電の停止で帰宅途上の市民が30分ほど電車に閉じ込められました。電子系トラブルは枚挙にいとまがなく、火災、自動車事故が頻発しました。重軽傷者の報告は現在でも相次ぎ、すでに100名を超えています。死者も3名を数えています。
Well, that's not good. You know, when you get to the point where people can die just because computers are malfunctioning, it's probably time to reevaluate things, yeah. The names and ages of the deceased begin to slide down the screen as subtitles. But it's only a list of letters and numbers. They don't even feel real. They're just some other people's affairs.
ネットワーク社会を震撼させる事件でしたが、不具合自体は極めて短時間であったため、現在ごく一部のサーバーを除いて、ネットはほぼ平常に復旧しています。
My dad picks up a cup sitting on the table and slowly gulps its contents down.
まだ犯行声明は出ていませんが、関連筋では近年世間を騒がせているサイバーテロリスト、コードの関与も囁かれています。
Terrorist, one who commits an act of terrorism, obviously. Code. 1. Code, custom, regulation, body of law. 2. Code, telegraph, symbol, cipher, signal. 3. Computer code, symbols converted into machine language. 4. A local cyber-terrorist organization that's been causing trouble recently. Its members commit their crimes with glee, their methods gaudy and cruel. It's clear the organization precipitates these misdeeds, but their goals are unknown. Rather than the morning news, the report sounds more like something you'd hear out of an afternoon talk show. Since the cause of all of this is still unknown, it just feels like nothing more than a show spouting wild speculations.
クラッカー集団コードは様々な公的機関、公共施設、企業を狙って大胆なハッキングを繰り返していますが、誰一人として逮捕されていません。
Hacking. What hackers do to explore new computer-related paths. A way for them to test their skills and push the limits of bleeding-edge technology. Hacker, originally referred to experts in technology, particularly computers. Hackers, also called white hats, find great joy at pushing the limits of technology. Therefore, they love circumventing supposedly impregnable net security systems, but they have no interest in actually destroying the system itself. They are the adventurers of the computer world. The hacker ideology generally promotes the free sharing of information by expanding the public domain to encompass all intellectual property. Hackers generally frown on businesses that profit by exploiting intellectual property laws to restrict information and may go out of their way to obtain copies of this restricted information. For this reason, the distinction between hackers and crackers has been lost to many, but hackers really hate being placed in the same category as crackers. The differences between the two are myriad. Hackers follow an unspoken moral code that they will never use their skills for malicious purposes and will only use them to honorably pursue a noble goal. A true hacker never believes what they're doing is malicious. They just pursue the truth and possibilities technologies can offer. Unfortunately, it can be said that true hackers are long gone. Crackers, also called black hats, are the opposite, utilitarianistic and destructive. Hackers frequently call themselves wizards, which evokes images of the never-ending struggle between the magic users of legend, white magic clashing against black magic. So this is fairly accurate. I don't know if all people who call themselves I don't know if everyone that I would consider a hacker conforms to this definition exactly, but it's a pretty good definition, I think. Wizard originally meant wise person or sage, later became magician. On the net, it refers to a genius hacker. Just like how a magician summons demons and evil spirits to use, net wizards freely use daemons. A Greek word that originally meant divine spirit and fate. In Judaism and Christianity, the meaning changed to evil spirit. In net slang, it refers to an application operating on a server. It's a standalone program that operates in the background that's normally asleep until certain variables appear. In other words, it activates at the same time certain conditions are met. Now, on Unix operating systems, that term is very familiar. Maybe not so much on Windows and Mac. Anyway, let's get back. Because the true nature of their goals remains unknown, the group's cultivated more mystique than it deserves. So for the press, they're the perfect subject matter to attract viewers' interest. You could say that it's only natural that such a mysterious group could be related to bizarre incidents like this one.
警察当局はこの可能性も視野に入れて情報を募り、捜査に乗り出しています。今後のためにも一日も早い事件の全容解明が願われます。
It seems Dad has finished drinking his coffee as he places his cup in a bowl overflowing with water. After that, he immediately puts on a business suit that's hanging from a clothes hanger.
じゃあ、私は行ってくるからな。
Dad picks up a hard silver watch from the living room table and fastens it around his left wrist. It's a chronograph that displays the moon's age. I'm pretty sure Dad said that it was supplied to him by his company. It might be a handcuff of sorts that binds Dad to his job.
Hinata.
Just before he leaves the room, Dad turns around and calls out to me. In spite of the fact that it's morning, his tired, despondent eyes are trying to search for something within me.
はい。
In order to mask everything, I stifle my emotions and answer in a smooth, robotic voice.
学校はどうだ？
What's his ulterior motive in asking that? He's definitely probing for something with it, but it all comes off as extremely annoying.
普通です。問題はありません。うまくやっています。
そうか。
His voice is full of disappointment. I quickly begin to append my statement.
はい。僕に心配はいりませんよ、父さん。
そうだな。
Dad averts his gaze, and then...
今夜は遅くなる。ことによると泊まりになるかもしれない。
Isn't that how it always is? Though I think that, a different answer comes out of my mouth.
大変だね。
私のことはいいんだ。だが。
I really don't feel like starting my day off with this pathetic scene.
早く行かないと遅刻するよ。
ああ。
I can't stand this atmosphere.
じゃあ夕食はいつものように適当に済ませておきなさい。先に休んでくれていいから。
I would have done that even if you hadn't said anything. That's all I've been doing up until now, and all I'll be doing in the future.
じゃあな。い
ってらっしゃい。
Even a short conversation like that saps me of my willpower. I head for the dining room, which is directly connected to the living room. In it is a table that seats 4 people, but there's no one there. They're all vacant seats, including my own. Mom's not here, and the other seat is for... My eyes turn to the inner room's door. My eyes seem to be hoping that a certain someone will come out of that room, even though I know that's impossible. To the current me, this is a meaningless, wide, empty space. The day all of us gather to eat here will be the day that pigs fly. Because ever since that time, everything's changed. I eat some cereal and a yogurt. It has no taste, but as long as it gives me the minimum amount of nutrition I need, it's fine. There's no other meaning to eating other than replenishing energy after all. That's what I've thought from the start. It feels as if my existence here is some kind of mistake, like I came from another world and need to keep this body alive until I can get back. It sure as hell seems that way, like I'm a disguised alien spy from another planet whom no one understands. I'm sure if you were to peel off the skin, you'd find my surprising true form hidden behind it. That delusion grows more extravagant with each passing day. Yes, it's been 2 years since that time. That event was what caused everything to go amiss.
事件が最もピークだった時間帯、一体何が起こったと思います？
As I'm changing into my school uniform, I unconsciously shift my gaze to the TV. I'd forgotten that Dad never turned it off, just as I think I should try changing the channel.
じゃじゃーん、見てください。これが昨夜午前0時12分、月食が最大になった状態の月です。
Ah, what's wrong with you, Hinata? All of a sudden, nausea and a headache descend on me. I can't stand.
およそ3年ぶりに日本で皆既月食が観測されました。珍しく月食の全行程が観測できたんですね。
That nails on chalkboard voice is only making my headache worse and worse. You might not, I don't know if you can see it in the video, but there's a slight shaking up and down effect.
昔は突然の異常事態として騒がれていた月食ですが、今回はネットの異常を招いてしまったそうです。まあ、因果関係はわからないんですけど。
Causality and karma. Cause and effect. 2. The idea that something happening now is somehow the consequence of something that happened previously, as well as the cause of something that will happen afterward. Morally, this is thought to imply that one's actions will eventually be properly rewarded, either positively or negatively. Thus, one's current misfortunes are the result of bad karma from a previous life. I reach my hand out for the remote.
今ではサロス周期の発見によって数年ごとにやってくる天体イベントとして親しまれています。次の月食は今年の10月。
Saros cycle, the repeated cycle of solar-lunar eclipses discovered in ancient Babylonian times. A Saros is a period of 233 synodic months, new moons, which usually comes out to 18 years and 11.32 days, or 6,585.32 days. In the case of 5 leap years occurring in one Saros, it would be 18 years and 10.32 days. By using the Saros cycle, one can predict when a lunar eclipse will occur down to the second, and can also predict whether it will be a partial or total eclipse. A migraine strikes my right temple. Ever since she vanished, everything's gone to hell for me. On the outside, I may seem like I've gotten considerably accustomed to it, but it seems that's not the case at all. The incidents on the net, the timing matches up with the lunar eclipse. Cyber terrorism. So what's changed? No matter how much they make a fuss of it, in the end, it's just an event occurring on the other side of the monitor. It's not important at all.
本日は都内全般にわたって快晴となるでしょう。降水確率は 0%、雨の心配はありません。
傘はいらないな。
That's the only important piece of information I need. Kocho, a quiet, clean, and orderly new residential area in Musashino. The blocky architecture infuses the area with an unnatural calm, removed from the annoyances of reality. Kocho, a quiet residential area located in Musashino, Tokyo. It was formerly an area known just as Cho, or Butterfly. This has been corroborated by historical records in the Kyoka Academy Library. Kyoka Private Academy, a combined middle and high school, with the building's construction themed around the path of wind. For some reason, the number of female students is higher than the number of male students. This is a bit off topic, but the name Kyoka, written with the characters for mirror and flower, comes from the term Kyoka Suigetsu. This term refers to flowers reflected on a mirror and the moon reflected off the water's surface. In other words, things that you can see but can't take into your hands. Things that you can only perceive which cannot be expressed in words or poems. Also, Izumi Kyoka was a famous romance novelist who wrote such works as The Holy Man of Mount Koya. We know nothing about the 20th century that adults are so nostalgic about. Almost 1/3 of the 21st century has already passed. Even so, the scenery of those futuristic cyber cities seen in old sci-fi movies are still nowhere to be seen. Cyber, a term short for cybernetics, derived from the Greek word meaning to steer, by Norbert Wiener in 1948. Originally meant the study of the functions of the human body and replicating those functions with machines. In the 1980s, when cyberpunk literature reached the tipping point of popularity, it came to mean remodeled body, to be embedded with a mechanical body, and for a body to be directly linked to the net and/or a machine. The polar opposite concept to this is ubiquitous computing. Computers everywhere. Whereas cyberization involves implanting computers in the human body, ubiquitous computing instead integrates computers in one's environment. This includes equipping every machine's interface with computers to support the needs and desires of the living human or otherwise. When computing becomes fully ubiquitous, humans will not even be aware of the intervention of computers at all. In the same way that the best CGI does not appear to be CGI. See also cyber. In a way, it may be for the best. There are no roads enveloped in pipes, and buildings look pretty much the same as they did 30 years ago. If anything, all things retro have come back in style. Bicycles continue to be propelled across the ground by their spinning rubber tires, and not even the proposals for implementing maglev trains are looking too good. Maglev train, short for magnetic levitation train, a train that uses magnetic fields to levitate itself and travel at high speeds. The technical problems have all been solved, but they haven't been made use of yet due to political reasons. Well, yeah, reality is different from what was predicted here. Space travel is still just a dream. Aside from astronauts and a few VIPs, we can't even get to the moon. Lunar excursion, an exclusive experience that only astronauts and a select few of the upper class can enjoy. Now that would be interesting, but yeah, pretty exclusive, even in this story. If we're talking about the one thing that has changed, then it would be electronic networks. I don't know about home computers, but even microcomputers built into cell phones rival the abilities of workstations decades ago. Infrastructure for high-speed communications and endless content pervades our daily lives as if it were as natural as the air around us, completely escaping our awareness until it suddenly disappears. Kocho is managed by computer networks much like the ones in urban centers. From living necessities like electricity and water to luxuries like consumer electronics and security management, it's actually harder nowadays to find something that isn't connected to the net. If you wanted to, you could check up on the status of anything connected to the net with a single command. It's like seeing through the eyes of God. That's how we peer down on the world through the net. That's interesting. The world is gradually transmuting into a miniature garden. Before long, even humans will become a part of the net.
Ohayo! Hinata!
As I walk, lost in these vague thoughts of mine, someone calls out to me from behind.
今日も遅刻しないで来てるな。感心感心。
Now, take a look at this outfit. I guess this is some sort of future fashion, but yeah, it's like it got this thing that's almost a necktie, and then you got two others on the sleeves, and it's like it couldn't decide which layer should be on top. Oh boy. When I turn around, I'm confronted by the smiling face of Kawahara Sakuya, my childhood friend. Even though it's so early in the morning, she's in incredibly high spirits. I can practically feel another headache descending on me. Of all the times to run into this troublesome girl, as I'm thinking this...
こら、朝の挨拶はどうしたの？ちゃんと起きてる？ご飯食べた？
起きてる起きてる。食べた食べた。頼むから耳引っ張るなよ。
Damn it, we've been together for so long that she never shows me any restraint. Someone, please do something about this barbaric girl.
元気ないな。ちゃんと顔洗ってきた？
洗ってきたよ。
だって、ほら、眠そうな目。
生まれつきだって。
そうだっけ？ほら、目やについてる。ああ、もうネクタイ曲がってる。
取る取る。直す直す。もう、自分でできるよ。僕に構うなっての。
Sakuya's always like this. Even though we're the same age, she treats me like a kid and fusses over every little thing without a second thought. She won't hesitate to scold me when she sees a problem either.
僕は咲夜の息子じゃないし、咲夜は僕の母さんじゃない。
Unable to bear it any longer, I let the words slip out of my mouth.
は？当たり前じゃない、そんなの。
いや、そういう意味じゃなくて。
ほら、だからそこ寝癖ついてるって。頭かしな。
What the hell? Why did things turn out like this? But, well, whatever. Objecting to her will just be a pain in the ass. Nevertheless, we've known each other for a long time. We met each other before entering kindergarten, and that was over 10 years ago. I guess it's one of those so-called inseparable relationships.
なんだか少し顔色悪いよ。
そう。
うん。
Is it because of that bad dream I had?
いつもこうだろ。
そっかな。そんなことないと思うけどな。
いいからほっとけ。
ほっとけないよ。だってひなたってぼーっとしてて頼りないんだもん。
自分のことは自分でできる。僕は咲夜より成績だっていい。
それは言わないでよ。
But I know that grades don't show the whole picture. After walking for a bit, we arrive at the bus stop. There's a sign there that says Kocho District Stop. The information display column in the center of the sign isn't showing anything right now. Information display column. Even in modern times, notice boards that use cheap LED lights are plastered all over, especially in transportation hubs. The bus stop sign shown here may appear to use this technology, but in fact uses a more complicated system. This sign uses electronic paper which is filled with magnetic particles that are black on the front and white on the back. That's very much like the Kindle, actually. Electromagnets manipulate which side of the particle faces the viewer, allowing the system to easily change the displayed letters and numbers. I checked the time on my cell phone. 7:28. That's odd. It should be here by now.
ねえねえ、昨日の月食見た？すごかったね。
うん。見たような見てないような。
はっきりしないな。
ほら、赤くなってくやつだろ。
そうそう、月食っていうから日食みたいに真っ黒になると思ったんだけど、怖くなるくらいに赤くなって、もううっとり。
怖いなら見なきゃいいのに。
ほらほら、そこは乙女心ってことで、その魔力に釘付けになってしまうのよね。
何言ってるんだか。
だってほらほら、初めて皆既月食の全工程が見られたんだもん。
全工程？
そうだよ。かけ始めてから全部影で覆われて、それから元に戻るまで。
そんな物好きな。一体何十分かかるんだよ。
いいじゃない。時間を忘れて見とれてたからそんなのわかんないよ。でも、そういうこと言うひなただって見てたんでしょ？
たまたまだよ。なんとなくっていうか。
嬉しい。
なんで？
なんでもないの。ねえねえ、ひなたもお月様見てて怖くなった？
そんなことあるわけ。
Well, that's a bit creepy.
どうしたの？
いや、なんでもない。大丈夫。
It'll hurt even more if I keep thinking about it. Why is it that I have such painful headaches every time the topic of the total lunar eclipse comes up? Yes, why indeed?
そう？
寝不足なだけだから。
もう、本当に心配だな。
Suddenly, I looked towards the bus stop sign. I hadn't noticed, but the bus had already made its stops at the previous stations and is now heading this way. It's almost 7 to 8 minutes late. Still, it seems like we'll make it on time.
そういえば、月食のせいでいろんな事件が起きてるんだよね。
そうとは限らない。
宇宙と地球は見えない力でつながってるってことだよね。神秘的。
Yeah, it's called gravity.
いや、僕の話を。
でも、昨日みたいに事故になっちゃうんだったら、つながってても嫌だな。
まあいいんですけどね、別に。
もしかしてひなたの頭痛も同じ原因だったりして。
The cause? What is? How is it? In what way? My mind just isn't able to process the thoughts. Why would trouble on the net and my headaches be connected?
それにしても、バス遅いな。
Geez, you're dropping the topic of the lunar eclipse and my headaches just like that? Why is it that the creatures known as women can just change the topic at the drop of a hat without missing a beat?
もう来るよ。
どうして？ほんとだ！すごい！
No, it's not amazing at all. I say nothing and decide to get on the bus. Because of the delay, it's more crowded than usual. Could it be that this screw-up in the schedule was also due to the eclipse yesterday?
ほら、ここ空いてるよ。早く来ないと他の人に座られちゃうんだからね。
Didn't I get on the bus before her? Huh? She probably passed me in that moment I was thinking. Still, she's amazing when it comes to nabbing seats. It's clear as day that she'll be a master by the time she's joined the battalion of middle-aged women. Yeah, that's a bit strange. I have a feeling that'll come up eventually. I haven't. I didn't mention that I finished this route and got partway through the second one, but I still haven't seen any answer to this particular mystery, if it is anything to be concerned about. Anyway.
座れてよかったね。寝不足なら私に持たれて眠っちゃってもいいんだよ。着いたら起こしてあげるから。
ありがとう。
I avoid eye contact as I say this.
発車します。お立ちの方はお近くの手すりかつり革にしっかりおつかまりください。
What's this? I see something in the corner of my field of vision. Is that a Kyoka Academy uniform? I see a girl running after the bus from far away. It seems that the bus driver hasn't noticed her, and even if they have, they're already late as it is. They probably aren't going to stop the bus for her. My condolences to this girl. The bus ruthlessly pulls out into the road. Even so, the girl desperately chases after it, getting slightly closer. Right then... Ouch!
あ、転んだ。
何か言った？
Okay, I made a little mistake and chose the opposite option from what I wanted to select, so I had to start over here. Yeah, let's talk about what you saw.
そこで女の子が転んだよ。
どこ？
I point towards where she was, but
誰もいないじゃない。
she's already gone.
いや、本当なんだ。離れたから見えなくなったけど。
どうだか。
Sakuya stares at me dubiously. It seems my words don't sound convincing at all.
まったく隣に私がいるっていうのによそ見ばっかりして。ほんとデリカシーないんだから。
Sakuya puffs her cheeks out in the best pout, and she turns her acute ear away from me. Acute ear. Not sure what that means. My nostrils are filled with the scent of the sweet shampoo in her hair. Well, I guess it means... I don't know. That's slightly strange.
だから誤解なんだって。
I swallow the words that I'm about to say. This is absurd. Why would I put myself in a worse position of ridicule? In the first place, did I really do something that bad? No, I don't think so. It's Sakuya's fault that I'm being laughed at. I close my eyes. I decide to pretend to fall asleep.
もう、起きて、起きなってば。
I hear a somewhat nostalgic sound, and this scent is...
次は教科学園前。教科学園前。お降りのお客様は次止まります。
もう着いたのか？
もうじゃないわよ。
Wow, to think that I'd actually fall asleep for real. So much for faking it. What's even stranger is that the nightmares that have recently been assaulting me didn't rear their ugly heads. I actually slept soundly.
さあさあ、降りた降りた。
I get off the bus, trying not to mind the reactions of the people around me. This is Kyoka Private Academy, a combined middle and high school. We graduated from the middle school section just this spring and entered the high school section. Because the admission and tuition fees are so high, most of the students who come here are from wealthy families. Just one glance will show you that there's not an ill-bred person to be found. In a sense, that's something to be grateful for.
おーす、さくちゃん。おはよう、みどり。
Sakuya will greet anyone cheerfully, and is always wearing that cheerful smile on her face. That's why she can make friends so easily. Which is more than I can say for myself. But I couldn't care less. Rather than do something troublesome like spending time with other people, I spend my time alone. It suits me much better.
昨日すごかったよね。そうそう、ロマンチックな天空の一大イベント。
ああ、そっちの方か。もしかしてその彼氏と一緒に見てたとか？
違うわよ。あれ？もしかして違わないんだっけ？
焼ける焼ける。この。
ちょっとねえ、ひなたもなんとか言ってよってよ。
僕はどっちでもいいから。
Oh man, Hinata. It's true that we did both observe the sky at the same time, just not together in the same place. I'm not interested. My world isn't connected to everyone else's, so I don't care what they think.
へえ、そうなんだ。あんた、なんか誤解してるでしょ。
はいはい、照れなくていいから。
緑
The lines of Zelkova trees sway along with a gust of wind. They run for several hundred meters in the space between the middle and high school sections. In a sense, they're the school's tradition or spirit.
風の道か。
何それ？
あれ知らないの？夏涼しく冬暖かい市民の憩いの散歩道として、季節や朝晩の風の流れをきちんと通すように校舎が設計されてるんだって。
That's fine and all, but thanks to that, you often see people who aren't students taking walks around here. It's an open campus. That's also the school's catchphrase or promotional line, if you may.
へえ、よくそんなこと知ってるね。さすがは地元民。
そっか。みどりんは受験して高等部に入ったんだもんね。うん、優秀優秀。
そんなことないって、ちょっと一生懸命勉強しただけだから。
だから知らなくて当たり前だよね。
二人とも中等部から？っていうか、ここじゃ私みたいな方が珍しいんだもんね。
そういうことそういうこと。
Because it's a private academy, the entrance exams are really difficult here. But if you're able to get into the middle school, then you can go straight to the high school, granted that you don't mess up during middle school or something extreme, or do something extreme.
私さ、この道を歩くの結構好きなんだ。
もしかしてSakuyaってナチュラリスト？ウォーキング好きだったりして。
うん、大好き。ね、Hinata?
To be honest, I'm sick of walking down this path. I've been doing so for the past 4 years after all.
ほらほら、昔はよくかけっことかしたよね。
そうだっけか？
したよ。もう。
あらあら、二人だけの思い出の世界ね。一人もんには辛い光景だわ。ということで、邪魔者は消えます。じゃ、また後でね。
ちょっと、緑！
The girl waves her hand and jogs towards the school building. For an instant, Sakuya looks like she wants to chase after her, but she shrugs and heads back towards me.
振られちゃった。
あのな。
Although I said otherwise, memories are swirling around my mind. It wasn't just the two of us. In those days when we commuted to school together, there was one more person who went with us. But now...
どうしたの？やっぱ調子悪いみたいだね。
My childhood friend calls out to me in concern.
なんでもないさ。
For some reason, I'm very sentimental today. I'm sure it's all due to that dream. I look up at the sky in order to avert my gaze, where clouds have covered the sun, beginning to obscure the sunlight. I'm depressed. These feelings of self-loathing start to multiply. My feet mechanically move ahead. I'm doing so out of consideration for Sakuya, who hasn't a shred of ill will. If I'm with her any longer, I feel like the cracks in my mask will be revealed.
ちょっと待ちなさいよ。
I can't cry, feel sad, or get hurt. I feel nothing. I don't think about anything. There's no difference between the mask and me. That's how I live. At that moment, I see that amongst the crowds of people heading towards the school building is...
まさか、そんな。
The girl who missed the bus. This doesn't make any sense whatsoever. Even if she continued to run as fast as she was, there's no way she'd make it on time. What's going on? What happened exactly?
どこ見てるのよ。
いって痛い痛い。
What's your problem? It seems Sakuya caught up to me without me realizing it. But launching a sudden attack like that and pulling my ear, that's unfair.
ねえ、聞いてるの、ひなた。
聞いてる聞いてる。だからその手を。
もう、私を置いていったかと思ったら、今度は急に立ち止まったりして。まったく何やってるんだか。
I see, that's what's going on. I'll try to clear the air a little.
ああ、あの女の子がさ。
女の子？
いや、ほら、あの子、さっきのバスに乗り遅れた子じゃないの？
どの子？
あの子だよ、ほら。あれ？もういない。
わけわかんないわね。
だから、バスに乗り遅れて、走って追いかけてる子がいたでしょ？
When I reached that point, I remembered that I was the only one who noticed the girl.
知らないわよ。だいたいあの時、ひなたは寝てたじゃん。
At the very least, Sakuya didn't notice her.
違う。あれは出発直後だったから、僕はまだ眠ってなかったんだ。
Sakuya looks up at me with a probing glance. She looks like she's been rattled, just when I feel like I can't bear the silence any longer.
じゃあ、目の錯覚じゃないの？それに、世の中には同じ顔をした人が3人はいるって言うし。
いや、それにしては。っていうか話せよ。さっきから僕の耳を何だと思ってるんだ。そんなに引っ張られたらウサギになっちゃうだろ。
Rabbit, long-eared rodent-like creatures. It is often... They are rodents. But anyway, it is often said that they can die from loneliness. In mathematician Lewis Carroll's Alice in Wonderland, a white rabbit with a pocket watch becomes the host of the story. The story of a rabbit on the moon is passed down in Indian and Chinese folklore, which may be why the waxing and waning of the moon is often likened to a jumping rabbit. In China, a jumping frog is said to be the spirit of the moon. Frogs and rabbits can be seen playing in the oldest manga, Shoujo Giga, animal caricatures. Originally, the moon rabbit produced the elixir of immortality. In Japan, however, the association of the rabbit pounding mochi, mochitsuki, comes from a corruption of another word for the full moon, mochitsuki. In fact, the word mochi itself has origins in the word to keep well, tamochi, referring to its long shelf life, leading to mochi becoming a symbol of permanence. In local myths recorded in the Kojiki and the Fudoki, an attempt to shoot at mochi caused the mochi to turn into a white bird that flew away. This white bird is yet another symbol of permanence, just like the 1,000-year crane. As a side note, rabbits are counted like birds in Japanese, ichiwa, niwa, sanwa, and so on. The reason for this is that their ears resemble wings. Interesting. Immortality. Since ancient times, kings have sought immortality out of their desire for their reign to continue forever. There are countless examples of this all over the world, from Egyptian mummies to the alchemists brought to Western society from the Far East, to Chinese alchemists practicing Taoism. The concept of immortality is a central focus in the world's oldest epic poem, the Epic of Gilgamesh. The hero Gilgamesh, king of Uruk, lost his best friend Enkidu. After that, he wasted no time in setting out to find a way to obtain immortality, for it was said only one chosen by the gods could do so. Nowadays, a popular question is whether one could obtain immortality by creating a replica of one's personality on a computer, but there is no answer to that question as of yet.
いいじゃんいいじゃん。そうなったらなおのこと可愛がってあげるからさ。
I feel shivers up my spine. She's serious. If she gives me even more affection, then what will happen to my identity?
お先。
もうどいつもこいつも私を置いていかないでよ。
And that marks the start of a tiring day.
「事情の逆算がルート」いわゆる平方根になるわけだが、ここでマイナス1の平方根を考える。つまり事乗するとマイナス1となる数は何か。
The square root of negative 1 equals I. I is an imaginary unit. I. 1. The symbol for imaginary numbers. I squared equals -1. Another way to say it is that -1 is the square root of I. 2. I, a term used to emphasize the speaker, myself. 3. A being that possesses self-consciousness and holds an identity. 4. AI. Here they're playing around with pronunciation because in Japanese romanization, this is actually pronounced I. But AI, artificial intelligence, machine intelligence, a program that can make its own judgment based on what is happening around it, or a machine equipped with such a program. If you display real numbers on a one-dimensional x-axis that goes from left to right with 0 in the center, then imaginary numbers would be displayed with a vertical y-axis.
I にはあらゆる実数を乗ずることが可能で、それはこの y 軸を形成する。この i の倍数である y 軸上の大きさのない数字を虚数というわけだ。
See, just as I thought. Next, he'll talk about the complex plane that displays complex numbers, which is what you get when you add a real number with an imaginary one. Or, yeah.
例えば、この第一象限にある 3i プラス3のような数字、これを複素数と呼ぶ。そこで、この複素数の加減乗除だが、
natural numbers, integers, rational numbers, and now imaginary numbers. Didn't you miss real numbers? Because you, yeah, anyway. Humans think up more and more unnecessary formulas for concepts they'll never calculate in their daily lives. But humans still aren't able to do even the simplest calculations.
このようにカッコでくくって、互いにかけてやることによって、簡単に計算できるようになる。例えば、この例題では、
Error, divided by 0, cannot perform equation. No matter how amazing the computers made by Silicon Valley are, they can't do this equation. Will humans someday be able to solve what happens when you divide by 0? Well, no, not really. I mean, it's undefined. It's not as if it's something that is just unknown. It's really undefined. Now there are systems where sort of augmented systems where you have an infinity, and then if you divide by 0, then you get infinity. But in real numbers and complex numbers, that doesn't work. So, anyway. Perhaps because of my nightmare, I'm extremely clear-headed, but my languid body can barely sit up at my desk, and today's class material is way too easy. Do I exist just to listen to things like this? Welcome to the net shop Cyber Geek. We have a new recommended product for you. Today's crossword puzzle. Under pressure from certain major powers, almost all Japanese schools now have computers that can connect to the net. Particularly our school, where all the desks have been converted to electronic form. Thank you for your purchase. You now have 1,024 points left. Please enjoy your net life. Interesting number there. That's a power of 2. I press the purchase button without even thinking about it. It automatically withdraws money from my registered ID. Like many of the other students here, I'm not exactly hard-pressed for cash. ID, short for identity, a number used to differentiate you from other members when you belong to a group or organization. All citizens are assigned a citizen ID, which is shown on the ID card they carry with them. Citizens with citizen IDs are all treated equally, although the elderly and handicapped are given preferential treatment in certain situations. Residents without citizen IDs, unregistered citizens, or illegal residents cannot access public facilities that are only available to citizens and cannot receive patronage from their country. ID card. An ID card with information about a registered citizen recorded on it. In actuality, it's a mini computer the size of a card. Its basic function is to be used in lieu of identification papers and are preferred to papers as information can be added to it. For example, if the resident becomes a student, their student ID can be recorded to the same citizen ID card. This is the same for company employees who can use it as an employee ID card and various other similar situations. What's more, the ID card can be used as a credit card, a cash or debit card, and can be used to wire funds from one account to another. Basically, all transactions related to electronic money can be carried out with the card. With the wealth of information it contains, it could be called a person's second self. It has a chip that emits electromagnetic waves when it's lost. That way, the authorities and its owner can recover it as soon as possible. The card has a fingerprint reading scanner on the outside, so no one but the owner can use it. Or someone who fakes a fingerprint, maybe? Also, I don't know if it's really that secure. If you know about chip cards, the version of credit cards that have been introduced in the US recently and have been used in other parts of the world for a while, they're not necessarily as secure as they're made out to be. So, yeah. According to the school's official stance, class computers can't connect to shops and adult sites, but tools to remove those kinds of protections are so common that you can find them anywhere. A new window begins to unfold above the mathematics complex plane graph. I close the installation and start windows, and when I do, a different kind of graphic composed of X and Y axes appears. What fills the window are boxes, not unlike those on a Go board that you fill out by deriving keywords from the horizontal clues and vertical clues. This is way more formidable than imaginary numbers. 11 letters, a method used to find inclinations for points on curved graphs. Ahaha, this one's a piece of cake. I type in differential. That would be derivative, actually. 7 letters, the phenomenon where the quality of energy decreases. It's kind of mangled wording. This horizontal clue shares the R in differential. Another easy one, I type in entropy. 7 letters, the surname of the scholar off whose work Einstein based his theory of relativity. A name hits me, and I use my fingers to count the number of letters in his name. Yep, it's 7 letters. I enter Lorentz. 13 letters, synonym for the gravitational radius of a black hole. Schwarzschild radius. That's long, but it also considerably shortens the number of possibilities. The 7th letter is a Z. Then it's obviously Schwarzschild. Good, it's going faster and faster. Next is 13 letters. Franz Kafka's most famous work. Of course, that's... Wait, who the heck is Kafka? Oh, they haven't heard of Kafka. Oh.
ひなたってば。こら、無視すんな。
いって、何すんだ。
それはこっちのセリフでしょ。
She's my natural enemy in class, not the overly preachy teachers nor the walls of knowledge. I wonder what karma caused my childhood friend to be placed in the seat next to mine.
あんた何やってんのよ。
何って、見ればわかるだろ。クロスワードパズルだけど。
またなの？今って何の時間か、あんたわかってる？
時間割では、月曜の3件は数1ということになってる。
で、もう一度聞くけど、ひなたは何やってるの？
クロスワード。
Sakuya sighs very deeply and looks at me with pitiful eyes.
バカと天才は紙一重って本当だったのね。
褒めてくれてありがとう。
誰が褒めたのよ、誰が。ほんと、ばっかじゃないの？
だから、それと紙一重なんだろ。
じゃあお聞きしますけど、その天才さんがなんでこんな普通のクラスにいるんですか？さっさと飛び級でもすればいいでしょ？
めんどくさい。
なんですって？
それに目立ちたくない。
十分浮いてるっつーの。
Yet again, Sakuya is starting to criticize me like she's my sister-in-law. The only self-defense strategy I have against this is to half-heartedly play along with her. If I just ignore her, the situation will keep getting worse and worse instead.
たまには授業を真面目に受けなよ。そのうち先生に当てられて困っても知らないからね。
別に。その場で適当に答えればいいんだろ。
I understand the logic behind what she's saying, but it's not like I'm obstructing their lessons, so most teachers usually disregard me.
もう。
それより、カフカの代表作ってなんだっけ？
はぁ？
クロスワードだよ。誰かわからなくてさ。
こんな。
Sakuya frowns, and she trembles in rage as she holds aloft her hand.
ああ、川原か。ちょうどよかった。この問題を解いてみなさい。
Jeez, she's so helpless. Sakuya breaks out into a cold sweat as an upset expression crosses her face, which seems to be telling me, this is your fault, so do something about it.
川原さん？はい。授業を聞いていませんでしたね。
いや、そんなことは。
だったら答えられるでしょ。
From the bottom of my heart, I feel that Sakuya's getting her just desserts, but this teacher's persistence is kind of pissing me off at the same time. 3i plus 3 times 2i minus 5 equals 3i times 2i minus 3i times 5 plus 3 times 2i minus 3 times 5 equals minus 6 minus 15i plus 6i minus 15 equals minus 6 minus 15 plus minus 15i plus 6i equals minus 21 minus 9i.
お！
マジかよ！彼女の危機にヒーロー登場ってやつですか？憎いね。
そこまで書く？さすがひなた。やることにそつがないね。
葵くん。
今日の授業範囲はあと3ページあります。残り時間から考えて、先へ進んだ方がいいのではないでしょうか。中間試験も近いことですし。
ああ、そうだな。
The math teacher perplexedly checks the time.
おお！
すごい。ついていけない。
じゃあみんな、この要領で次の例題を解いていこう。できたものは、LAN経由でファイルを送るように。
The second he says this, I send my file full of the answers to the so-called practice problems, which I had finished before I started the crossword puzzle. Now I can peacefully focus on the important things again. I quickly look to the side and see Sakuya sitting there with an apologetic look and her right hand on her chest. It probably means, sorry, thanks. I tilt my head to the side to silently tell her, see, I've got it covered. Once I saw the question, I had it solved in seconds. I don't need to prepare for any lectures or go to any study sessions. Anyway, there's something more important I have to do right now. Searching. Contemplation. Yes, this is it. I'm suddenly taken aback as I realize the answer has not been registered as correct. What's the answer then? Just what could it be?
なんかさ、超やばくね？
何が？
いや、ほら、昨日の月食でさ。
ああ、あれね、あれ。
うちのテレビの配線、ショートしちゃって、ぼや騒ぎ。なのに、消防車来てくれなくてさ。
Why would a TV catch fire? Just because it lost power or... I don't know. That's weird.
大変やったな。俺あの時間帯ちょうどバビロンに潜ってたんやけど、放り出されるわ、データはお釈迦やわ。ほんま泣きそうやったわ。
And here's the first instance, I think, unless I missed something, of a term that's in curly braces. These are important for some reason, but I don't know why yet. Anyway, Babylon, derived from the Akkadian Bab-il, or God's Gate. 1. Another way of referring to the ancient Mesopotamian city of Babel, located on the eastern banks of the Euphrates River. It was from this city that the ancient Babylonian Empire developed. 2. A colloquial term for a country full of luxury and corruption. 3. An MMORPG, massively multiplayer online role-playing game. Its tagline is, another reality where reality doesn't exist, where players assume the roles of heroes who continue to live there via their shadows when the player isn't logged on. Unlike many other MMORPGs, which are about having adventures in fantasy and sci-fi worlds, Babylon's setting is a spitting image of reality. It's a world full of thrills, suspense, pleasure, and corruption. Because there are various criminals whose skills exceed those of the police, residents are allowed to carry guns and swords for protection. Such an extremely realistic and violent game has garnered intense criticism from the media because the deliberate lack of distinction between reality and the game could only promote crime. This, of course, only made the users more enthusiastic about the game, to the point that it was almost grotesquely cult-like. One critic went so far as to say that Babylon is like a waking dream. Its managers are Anunnaki. Real, derived from the Latin word realis, which means actual. 1. Reality, existence, genuine article. 2. The sensation of feeling real, a sensation that what one is experiencing is reality, that they're in reality. See also virtual. Derived from the Latin word virtus, implies a dreamlike world. 1. Existing in essence or effect, but not in actual fact, form, or name. 2. Resulting from pretense or imagination. Shadow. 1. From ancient Egypt up to modern times, a shadow is said to be an object's soul. Therefore, vampires who are dead have no shadow because they have no soul and have no reflection in the mirror. 2. In psychology, the vulgar or brutal urges that one is unaware of, yet is always trying to keep restrained below the surface. There have been cases where these impulses have broken through. Actions that occur when usurped by the shadow can be likened to a state of being possessed by an evil spirit. 3. One's virtual other self on the net. All the shadow's names are their owner's handles. Via their parameters, it's also possible for them to perform actions beyond their player's abilities, also known as avatars. Handle comes from the verb to operate. 1. To control a car or motorcycle, more accurately to steer. 2. An alias with which you identify yourself on the net, often used by people who want to hide their age and gender. Anunnaki. Sumerian word that originally meant the gods of heaven and earth. 1. General term for the gods and goddesses of Sumer and Babylon. 2. A group of coders and hackers that created the MMORPG Babylon. The most skilled among them are known as the Great Triad. By the way, it's interesting that we, the readers, are getting this information when the characters don't necessarily have it. I wonder why that is. So that's something to think about.
バビロン？あれ？知らへんの？今一番流行ってるネット RPG。もうクールで最高。へえ。あれこそもう一つの人生って感じ？
それより最初の人生をしっかりやろうぜ。
うわ、テスト範囲かって。そういうリアルなこと思い出さすなよ。もう俺なんかドラゴンに襲われる夢でだいぶうなされてんねやから。
だからそれはゲームのやりすぎ。間違いない。
I can't stand listening to this.
獅子座の今日の運勢はなに末吉。いつもの仲間とはちょっとすれ違いそう。細かなフォローが幸運への鍵となるでしょう。ラッキーカラーはグリーン。水には気をつけて。だって。
I wonder if this has any bearing on the story. I haven't seen any yet.
うわ、なんか微妙な運勢。細かなフォローね。
そういえば昨日の事件は世界の終焉への幕開けなんだって。
Oh, really?
何それ？
街頭でそう演説してた人がいた。
Of course.
だからみどりん、そういう妙なものばっかハマんないでよね。
でもなんでも神の降臨による天変地異なんだってよ。
もう、時代錯誤ね。だったらその神はどこにいるっていうの？
ネット。
え？
だからコンピューターネットワークに神が降臨したんだって。
あ、そう。
なんだか釣れない返事だわね。
ごめん。私オカルトとかそういうの興味ないから。
あ、そう他にも UFO から来た緑色の宇宙人がね、人類に警告を発しようとして。
Shit. This is pointless.
でもさ、あれってテロらしいよ。サイバーテロ。
そういえば最近なんかそういう事件多いな。
それで、これは信頼できるソースからの情報なんだけどさ。
What reliable source? At best, it's probably from a post on a forum written by some anonymous poster. People just take others' irresponsible opinions for their own. As the information society grows, it's becoming more and more difficult to determine what exactly constitutes the truth out of all the data that's leaking out. No, it might not have anything to do with whether it's the truth or not. It's what people regard as the most convenient or enjoyable explanation to them.
犯人はとんでもないハッカーらしいぜ。なんせ一流企業の社屋のセキュリティを突破して爆弾を仕掛けられるやつだからな。
そういや去年この学校の試験問題がハッカーに盗まれたって事件あったけど、ひょっとしたら犯人ってここの生徒やったりして。
まさか。っていうか犯人はお前だ。
へえ、俺かって知らんかった。
I'm getting a headache. It's getting more and more intense. I quickly leave my seat. I can't listen to such a ridiculous conversation between two guys who can't tell the difference between a hacker and a cracker. Yeah, whatever. At that moment, my cell phone chirps that I've received an email, but who would it be from? For some reason, I have a really bad feeling about this. The title is To Oni-chan. The body of the email is short. Are you there? I am here. And below that is an unfamiliar URL. Is this some kind of spam? Who's the sender? Spam, originally referred to an unnecessary email. It came to me in an unsolicited email sent to an unspecified large number of people. It's not just an email. When you click through it once, an infinite number of windows open on the computer, showing malicious or unsavory pages. Now that sounds pretty scary. Among hackers, it has become slang for a helpless person, such as "you damn spammer." There's no sender name, but I see several letters in the email address column. M, U, T, S. Huh? Oh. U, K, I. Miski.
まさかそんな。
My fingers reflexively delete that email. Although it might be a coincidence, the address name that spammer used has made me even more pissed off than usual. I close my eyes. I close my mind. I do so in an attempt not to think about anything.
何がありえないって？
サクヤ。
おいおい、ほんと顔色悪いぞ。
I don't answer her. I can't answer. The confusion in my mind grows bigger and bigger, and the pain becomes unbearable.
保健室行ったら？
I don't really want to go, but I don't want to attend my afternoon classes in my current condition.
わかったよ。そうする。
一人で行ける？一緒についてこうか？
My headache suddenly grows worse. I almost say, I'm not your son and you're not my mother, but remembering what happened this morning, I just barely managed to avoid saying it.
ほら、もう。
あ、いや、大丈夫だから。ほら、ちゃんと歩けるし。
そう？
I keep a firm grip on my mind and begin to walk while treading with extremely careful, firm steps.
ひなた。
Her voice sounds pleading. I mustn't turn around. I let Sakuya know that I can take care of my own body, that I don't need her to watch over me like an overprotective mother in the future.
失礼します。
Okay, this is where I'm going to stop for now. So, next time we're going into the infirmary and see what happens. So, I'd really like comments from anyone who has any thoughts about this. So, until next time, see you later.